All right, let's talk about status certificates and the importance of getting them done for a condominium townhome or a condo apartment. Interesting fact is that there are condominium detached homes. They're not that common, but they do exist. But for the sake of our discussion, we're really looking at condominium townhomes and condominium apartments, even though I think the discussion kind of applies to condominium detached homes as well. I don't think I'm ever going to see one for a long time. I think there was one in Mississauga in the Arundel area. I think it was Wolfdale, no, Arundel and Dundas Street, somewhere around there, Arundel Station, where they have some detached condominium homes. But anyways, this topic we're discussing today applies to all property types. So why get a condominium apartment status certificate or apartment or townhouse status certificate done? Get a review going. Well, it's important because it gives you an idea of the finances of the condominium management that's kind of handling everything. Um, a lot of the times, people were kind of foregoing them. A couple of years ago, when after COVID 19, interest rates kind of went down to nothing. You had property values shooting up and multiple offers in every property. It's like the crazy wild, wild west of real estate at that time. And nobody was doing any home inspections, status certificates, or even financing conditions at the time because any condition you put in meant automatically you were going to lose that property. So fast forward to now, I mean, it's not a big kind of problem. Everybody's getting these conditions put into their offers. The clauses are there. But every now and then you do run across people who will feel like, a status certificate on a newer property is, really not that big of a deal. So today we're going to talk about what the importance of status certificate is and why you absolutely need to get one done, even if you're looking at a brand new property. All right, so let's talk about what is a status certificate. So a status certificate, sort of a tongue twister there, is it's basically giving you an idea of what the finances are like of that condominium apartment or that condominium townhouse complex. The company that's managing these funds, um, how are they performing? Do they have enough in the reserve fund for future maintenance of the building, of the structure? How have they performed in the past? Right, kind of gives you an idea of the direction they're kind of headed in. It could be something that's in line with what's happening in the surrounding area. It could be an outlier. There's many different scenarios, but essentially it's sort of like a report card of the finances, which helps you determine whether this is the type of building or complex you want to get involved with or not. Okay, so what constitutes as a good condo status certificate, right? So a good certificate will tell you that the funds have been managed properly over a long period of time. They kind of like put in money for repairs and maintenance they were expecting 10 years down the road. That it's not like every year they're just kind of playing catch up. Because of all the expenses, or there might be pending lawsuits against the corporation or maybe the building or the complex because somebody slip and fell, which every now and then sometimes it's going to happen. It's very unavoidable because of weather and everything else. But if it's something that repeatedly happens, that's a sign that whoever is kind of managing that area isn't really paying attention. Another thing to look for is condo management boards, right? Or companies that come and manage the funds. What is the turnover? If it's been sort of like the same company from the very beginning, that's a great sign. They've been doing a good job. I mean, I'm thinking about an example right now. In Mississauga, there's on Highway 10 and Dundas, there are these on Ceremonial. I forget the name of the condos, but these buildings are right by the GO station. They've been around for a long time, and they're by the Cooksville Go, and they're, I believe, about 40 years old or more. But their maintenance fees relative to a lot of the newer condos that are being built are very, very low. Some of these units are still Hillcrest. That's the name, Hillcrest. So some of these units are still being 1,000 square feet. Their maintenance fees are like $600 a square feet, a square foot, which is about 60 cents a square foot, which is fantastic for a building that's been around that long and it has been doing a good job of managing the expenses. So you're looking at somebody who has had a good history, and whoever's doing this or managing the funds is doing a good job. So you can expect them to continue a good job down the road. So that kind of helps you put faith into the purchase and have, have some predictability in terms of what your expenses are going to be down the road with this specific unit. On the other hand, you have certain units, like I'm thinking about the Absolute building, the Marilyn Monroe buildings, which are, they're celebrities on their own. Like, I mean, all over the world, people recognize Mississauga because of those Marilyn Monroe buildings, which is great. But not only are their floor plans is completely, they're horrible, they're nasty. I don't want to use any mean words for them, but these are very bad floor plans, and the maintenance fees, for whatever reason, are really high. They're almost close to $1 per square foot, which is mind-boggling for a building that's not that old. So a status certificate will tell you, obviously you're looking at the maintenance fees, and you can tell whether this is high or low based upon whatever's happening in the market. But the status certificate also tells you what's going on with the management, like what got them to that point. And yeah, I mean, it's important to know. So what you're, I guess, the essence of what I'm trying to say is what you're looking for is how is a company that's managing the funds. First of all, have they been around for a long? Is there a constant turnover of these companies coming in to manage the funds? Red flag. How often do the fees go up? Is it, is it something that was out of the control of the management board, or is it just mismanagement? And a lot of times when people are looking at the status certificate, they're looking at just the maintenance fee on its own, right? So as long as the maintenance fee is low, if it's 50 to 60 cents a square feet, then that's good. Even that doesn't give you a clear idea of whether that's good or bad, because there could be things done to kind of manipulate the maintenance fees to make it look like everything's within control, but there's something else happening behind the scenes. And this is where a lawyer will tell you whether, what's really actually happening. It's not just the maintenance fee. So you can look at the maintenance fee. That's one feature of it, but then there's also so many different elements that come with it, where you need a professional to kind of help you see through all of the fog and determine whether this is a good status certificate or not. Now, this brings me to my last point, which is when you're getting a status certificate reviewed by a lawyer, it is absolutely important to get somebody who focuses on real estate. So, technically speaking, legally, any lawyer can take a look at the status certificate and give you their opinion on whether, everything looks good or not, whether the future is somewhat predictable or not. But you must go with somebody who is a real estate focused lawyer, somebody who focuses on real estate. The reason for that is that the market's always kind of shifting. And let's take two lawyers. Take lawyer number one, who's kind of general purpose lawyer, does everything, wills, divorces, et cetera, some real estate here and there. And then take somebody who focuses on real estate. Um, I can make a recommendation right now. Jacqueline Knowles, JMK Law, who I've been dealing with for over, I don't know, 15 years. She's fantastic. And she does just real estate, which is what you want. You want somebody who specializes. What happens when you specialize as opposed to somebody who doesn't specialize is that you're seeing status certificates all of the time. And because you're seeing them all the time, you've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the market with inflation, rising prices, et cetera, et cetera. So you can say, hey, look, I know that the maintenance fee on this specific building shot up because of the price of gas or whatever it is. You will not know that if you're a general sort of practitioner when it comes to, being a lawyer. Go to somebody specific who knows what they're looking at, who is looking at certificates all the time, and they can give you an honest idea of whether this is something that's good or bad and what the future looks like for that specific one. Okay, so that's a very, very strong recommendation. Always use a real estate specific closing lawyer, not somebody who does everything. Okay, story time. So something that I experienced myself with a client many years ago. We were looking for a place in Oakville. I believe it was the condominium stacked townhome complex. I believe on Pilgrim's Way, if I'm not mistaken. And we were putting an offer in on the property. God, I forget what the prices were like, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, but it was lower. It wasn't in the 600s the way it is now. And I remember that the listing agent had put into the agreement that there was going to be a special assessment, and the owner was going to pay off the special assessment of $1,000 because something was happening with the underground parking structure or something like that. We did the status certificate check, and the lawyer that we used obviously was GMK Law, and she did a little digging around. She called and she spoke with management directly. And what they figured out was that even though there was a special assessment of $1,000, even though all that information hadn't been put into the status certificate at that point yet, they were expecting, you know, a much higher sort of cost for repairing whatever maintenance they had to do. And there wasn't enough money in the reserve fund for that. So potentially that could have been a problem where you would have had special assessments occurring every year. Now, this wasn't kind of flat out information given to us flat out from the very beginning, but a good lawyer, kind of listening to their sixth sense, did some digging around and got that information. And needless to say, obviously we didn't go ahead with that purchase and they ended up purchasing something else somewhere else in Oakville, but it happened. So again, just to kind of stress the importance of using a lawyer who specializes in real estate. Okay, so I guess we can wrap this up. Very simple today. Do a status certificate review on any property, whether it's a townhome, condo apartment, condo detached. Get it done. Anytime you have a maintenance fee, you need to do that status certificate review. New property, old property, doesn't matter. And then number two, please work with somebody who is a specialist in real estate transactions. Get a lawyer that's going to review the status certificate that specializes in real estate and doesn't do everything under the sun. All right. That's it for now. If you have any interesting stories when it comes to status certificates or anything related to that, we'd love to hear them. Leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.